putting our children into prostitution. Drug trafficking, it's all over. It's because of Nigerians. That is the only thing that they trade in our country. You go in town, you go all over. You see them in the street, pretending as if they're selling this fake clothes. Underneath there's drugs.
Even the sweets.
We go in our township, they're associated, integrated with our South Africans to push their syndicate of drugs. We need to come together if you people you are meant to be here in our country to see this country peacefully. You make sure all those illegal foreign nationals who claim to be legal in our country with the status that it needs to be audited, you need to get involved because it's your duty to ensure that all Nigerians that are coming here, they are with a visa on a purpose. Whether you're here for the visit or for trade, then after a period of certain time, they must...
Alright, time for a serious video. Just like the title said, March on March. Was it patriotism or poison? The story behind South Africa's most controversial moment in recent times. Part 1. What is March and March? On the 30th June 2026, thousands of South Africans took to the streets in a national-wide protest. Their message: undocumented foreigners must leave. Uyahambe. The movement behind it all is called March and March, a civic movement founded in 2025 by Jacinta Ngobese-Zuma, my lovely lady, and my fine queen, a former radio presenter and an activist. The movement's mission, according to its leaders, is simple: advocate for the enforcement of South African immigration laws, particularly those relating to undocumented foreign nationals, as I should say. They argued that illegal immigrants placed additional pressure on public services, employment opportunity, housing, healthcare, and national security. They set a hard deadline of 30 June for undocumented foreigners to self-deport. Thousands of foreign nationals from countries like Ghana, Nigeria, Malawi, and Mozambique fled in fear. But is March and March a genuine civic movement, depending government actions, or is it something more sinister? Let's break it down. Part 2. The leader, Jacinta Ngobese-Zuma. At the center of this movement is Jacinta Ngobese-Zuma. She is described as a quote-unquote failed radio DJ by critics, but she's also been very incredible and effective at mobilizing thousands of South African citizens. Addressing crowds in Durban, she said, so many domestic workers are working in South African homes when there are many people in South Africa who are depending on social grants and could do the same job as them. We want our people to be employed. We want them to run successful businesses. Where is the xenophobia there? She's also announced that the movement will stage marches every Thursday across South Africa until the government takes decisive actions. She's given the government 6 months to respond or face a continued protest. But here's the thing about Ngobese-Zuma. She's not just a random activist. She's been at the center of controversies before. In January 2026, she led a protest at Addington Primary School in Durban, claiming that nearly 100 South African children were being turned away because space were occupied by foreign learners. The KwaZulu-Natal Education MEC slammed the protest as misleading and dangerous narrative. Police later charged the March and March movement and Ngobese-Zuma following the clash. Part 3. The supporters. Why many South Africans agree. Now, before we judge, let's understand why so many South Africans support this movement. The unemployment rate in South Africa is above 30%. For young people, it's even higher. Many South Africans genuinely believe that undocumented foreigners are taking scarce jobs and resources. Supporters of March and March argue that South Africa should enforce its immigration law more effectively. Undocumented immigrations place a strain on already stretched public resources. Government needs to strengthen borders management. Citizens have the right to a peaceful demand action from the elected leader, which, the ANC. One protester in Pretoria put it bluntly: what does it help if they hide today, only to return tomorrow, to trade and steal from us again? The movement has also gained political backing. The MK party has supported the march, while the ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalile has accused former President Jacob Zuma of backing the movement for political resources and public gain. Fikile said Jacob Zuma is an elder in this country. Today he is joining the fray, standing up on a platform and fueling violence. Now, how can a person who was a leader not long ago call for violence in this country? Doesn't make sense. But the MK party has denied any direct links to March and March. Part 4. The critics. Why many say it's xenophobia. But here's the other side of the story, and it's not pretty. Critics argue that March and March isn't about immigration enforcement at all. It's about Afrophobia, fear and hatred of fellow Africans. Carl Nehans, I do apologize for butchering your name, an MK veteran and EFF member of Parliament, wrote an opening letter calling the movement a dangerous division. He compared it to the apartheid regime, third force, and a calculated campaign to divide black communities. Carl wrote, March and March, led by figure Jacinta Ngobese-Zuma, cloaks itself in the language of patriotism and border security. Its rhythm, however, is unmaskable. Fellow Africans from Nigeria, Somalia, Ethiopia, and elsewhere are dehumanized as rats who breed uncontrollable drug dealers and cartel mafias controlling spaza shops. May I have a point? The violence has been real. Since March 2026, at least 7 people have been killed in associated violence. During the 30 June protest, there were outbreaks of looting, property destruction, and targeted attacks on migrant-owned businesses. Thousands of foreign nationals fled their homes. Migrant-owned spaza shops were looted or destroyed. And here's the uncomfortable truth. The violence doesn't distinguish between documented and undocumented migrants. Legal residents, refugees, and asylum seekers are being targeted. One foreign national told reporters, hey, they will attack me if I stay. They will attack me to go. President Cyril Ramaphosa has warned against vigilantism, saying Only government officials are authorized to enforce immigration laws. Incitement and vandalism will not be tolerated. Part 5: The political, elections, votes, and games. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room: politics. Yeah. South Africa's local government elections are coming up in November 2026, and immigration has become a hot button issue. Mbahlala has accused Zuma of supporting March and March for political reasons because he wants votes. In his own words, there are many ways to win votes. He won votes and people followed him. He crippled the ANC. He didn't do that by violence. Why would you encourage an ordinary South African to fight other Africans who are legally in your country? The MK party has rejected violence and xenophobia, but they've also defended the right to protest peacefully. Meanwhile, the EFF to the has stuck to its pan-Africanist stance, opposing the movement. The question is March and March a genuine grassroots movement, or is it being used as a political tool to win votes? Part 6: The outside interference. Who really behind this? And this is where it gets controversial. Carl has made explosive allegations. He claims that March and March is being funded and directed by foreign interests, specifically Western intelligence agencies and Zionist financiers. Today, in June 2026, as we are confronted with the planned nationwide actions of the March and March movement on June 30th, the same sinister pattern stares us in the face. Only now the strings are being pulled by a more sophisticated alliance. Western intelligence agencies, Zionist financiers, deeply angered by South African landmark case as at the International Court of Justice. The local proxy operating along Afrophobic and ethnic fault lines. In his words, Carl argues that these foreign interests want to destabilize South African because of its principal stance against Israel. At the ICJ, he calls this a hybrid warfare update for the multipolar era, the third force reborn. Jacinta Ngobese-Zuma has denied these allegations, insisting that March and March receives only South African donations. But the question remains, who is funding March and March? The movement seems to be highly resourced with immense powers to mobilize. Where is the money coming from? And why is the hatred so selective? Targeting African migrants, but not Europeans or American exports. Carl put it bluntly, this is not an organic popular anger. It is a colonized strategic designed to keep the oppressed divided. Part 7: The bigger picture. What does this mean for South Africa? So, where does this leave us? March and March has tapped into real frustration. High unemployment, falling services, and a government that mainly feels has let them down. But the movement's methods and rhetorics are deeply troubling. Fellow Africans as rats, or gundwan as we call it, who breed uncontrollably. When you set deadlines for people to leave, when you march through areas inhabited by foreign nationals with the clear intention to provoke, that's not patriotism, that's intimidation. And when foreign interest may be pulling the strings, when The movement is being used to divide black South Africans against their African brothers and sisters. That's not about immigration. That's destabilization. Carl concluded, Afrophobia is not a Afrophobia is not a natural Semite. It is a social construct and a weapon of power and inequalities, shields elite interest, and obscures the finished task of decolonization. So, here's the question. Is March and March a genuine movement for change, or is it a dangerous vehicle for xenophobia and foreign interference? The answer probably lies somewhere in the middle, but the violence, the intimidation, and the dehumanizing of civilians cannot be ignored. South Africa has a long history of xenophobic violence. We've seen the horror before. We know the path leads. What do you think? Is March and March justified in its demands? Is this patriotism or is it a poison? And who is really behind it all? Let me know in the comments, like and follow. And yeah, a lot of this violence and stuff should end, but you guys see what happens. Follow for more content creation and more positive vibes and better videos. A lot of, yeah. Till next time, guys. Follow. Like.